Book 101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the author of the upcoming book, The Eccentric Genius Habitat Intervention. No other than Miss Stephanie L. Jackson.
Daniel, that was a beautiful introduction.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Stephanie. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
I am a former artist, a current entrepreneur, a little bit of a weirdo, and someone with a mission to heal the world through design.
Certainly, Miss Stephanie. Let's heal the world because of the climate change.
That is part of it, but only a small part.
Yes, thank you so much for your creativity and, of course, your upcoming book. Let's talk about it. The Eccentric Genius Habitat Intervention. How did you come up with the title?
Well, the title is based on a story of a friend of mine who was arrested on her way to a flight with some items in her bag that she was not allowed to carry on a plane. Because she had purple hair, they took her to the police station and they asked for some references. So they called the head of her academic department and they called her boss. Her boss, who was the chairman of the geology library, said that she was quirky but harmless. And the chair of her academic department said she was an eccentric genius. And this book is in honor of all the eccentric geniuses that I have known and will know in my life. And my mission is to create habitats that allow genius to thrive.
Oh, very well said, Miss Stephanie. Very genius, indeed.
Your
So
your
how?
your applause is delightful.
Yes. So how does the book define and describe highly sensitive people?
Highly sensitive people are everywhere, and we are a whole range of human beings. This book talks about neurodiversity because everyone's brain is different. We all experience the world with slightly different or sometimes radically different levels of intensity in each different sense. When someone is considered neurodivergent, their nervous system is working, functioning, and perceiving in significantly different ways than what we would call ordinary people or neurotypical people. There are also neurotypical people who are just more sensitive in general. Those people are called highly sensitive people. And I got that name from a book called The Highly Sensitive Person, written by Elaine Aron in the late 1990s.
Wow. Interesting, Miss Stephanie. So what makes a living space a habitat intervention rather than just a decor?
That's a really good question. When I do a habitat intervention, I go in and I ask a lot of questions, first of all, because a lot of people are living with things that just arrived around them by default. And if they have not thought about why is that there? Why do I own this thing? Why is that wall this color? Why is my space set up the way it is? And they haven't assessed their own sensory responses. They don't know what's more sensitive. They're just kind of accepting that they're in this world. And a lot of times we're accepting this world and we are really, really uncomfortable. We just think that's how life is and we just power on through. So if I start asking questions, not just about what do you like, what do you want, but tell me about that. Tell me the story behind this. What are you struggling with? Where do you hurt physically, mentally, emotionally? What's going on with your relationships? I can start to get a lot of information, and then I can start shifting things around. I don't have clients that I then try to sell them a whole bunch of furniture to mark up. I don't go in there with dump trucks and like put in all these new finishes and things. I start with what's there. I start with you. I start with your relationships. And we can always find ways of shifting things that make your space feel better, that make you feel better, and that makes everything in your life work better.
Certainly. So, how do you connect emotional well being with a physical space?
Your space is a mirror of your identity. We all go through difficulties in life. We all have stories. We all have emotional histories. And as we go through life, we're collecting things around us. We're collecting things that are special to us. We're also collecting memories and traumas and struggles. And if we can engage with that in an intentional way and recover some agency about what am I going to emphasize, what do I want, and how can I arrange my space to support me in getting what I want, as opposed to fighting against it, you can make that decision and you can do it right now with what you have. You don't have to have a ton of money to spend on stuff that gives you the appearance of high status. You can use your own creativity to emphasize what makes you you. And that is going to give you a sense of status in that you are the most authentically you can be, and your space is telling you that.
Certainly. So, Miss Stephanie, let's talk about the design philosophy and strategy. What are the key principles of designing for highly sensitive individuals?
First of all, it's considering all of the sensory aspects of a space. By that, I mean acoustics. How much sound the space around you is echoing or absorbing. There's also lighting. A lot of default lighting installed in buildings is really uncomfortable for sensitive people, and for some neurodivergent people, certain kinds of lights make it actually impossible for them to form an image in their visual cortex. Those flickering fluorescent lights, most of us dislike those lights, but many autistic people actually cannot perceive things under those lights because it's interfering with their brain so badly. Sensory design is also about texture, it's also about boundaries, it's about relational boundaries, it's about the level of visual complexity. Sometimes if the space is so visually chaotic that it's overwhelming, that it doesn't allow your brain to function. So, interior design is about considering all the aspects of how your space affects your body, and in particular, your nervous system.
So, Miss Stephanie, how does the book redefine beauty and functionality for unconventional thinkers?
Does it redefine beauty and conventionality? I think it does. That's really perceptive of you to say that. Yes, because for the last 100 years, the idea of beauty has been looked down upon and poo pooed in the
Hmm.
high fine art world. And I can say that because I was part of it.
Yes.
I believe that beauty is simply a reflection of what our nervous system finds calming and grounding and healing. I think it's hardwired, and I think that artistic movements can try to create status for the artist, for the movement, by being controversial and shocking. And for about the last 100 years, that's meant being almost aesthetically violent, where the art is in conflict, or the art that is seen as important is almost in conflict with the human nervous system. So I create spaces that do things to your nervous system, which may be inspiring, they may be exciting, they may be calming, but it is directly relating and intentionally trying to create a response in the nervous system, which is actually good for the people in that environment and not just making a certain artist or dealer or collector feel important.
Mrs. Stephanie, beautifully articulated. Very well said. So let's talk about personalization and emotional impact. How can personal identity be reflected through design in HSP friendly way or highly sensitive people?
You, as a person, are always choosing things which mirror your identity. Even if you think you don't have taste, that you don't understand design, you're out in the world making choices every day. You're responding to things. And when I go into someone's space and I start asking questions, when I ask you to start picking things that appeal to you, or I give you choices, I'm like, do you like this? Do you not like this? You're going to have an answer for me. All I'm doing is pointing out to you what you are already doing and helping you put it in an arrangement that, from my experience with design, with color, with layout, with composition, I am amplifying the choices, the stories, and the aesthetic preferences that you already have.
So what are some example of design triggers that can overstimulate or calm an HSP?
It's hard to give an example of design triggers because everyone is so different.
True.
But I will say that things which are biophilic, things that contain life or mimic patterns of life, have been shown to be extremely calming to the human nervous system in general. That is shapes of plants, organic forms, sunlight, frequencies of natural environments, sounds of rain and thunder. The natural world is our habitat, it's where our bodies come from. So, spaces that have elements of the natural world when it is nourishing us are naturally going to calm our nervous systems.
Totally agree, Ms. Stephanie. So, how does the book help readers assess their emotional and environmental needs?
Every chapter is about a different aspect of the human nervous system, and each chapter has a section for a sensory assessment. It is a short exercise that you can do with the book in your hand right now, where you are going to observe your own sensory experience. I take you through that, and then I take you through some stories of other people that have been through this process, clients of ours. And then at the end of each chapter, I give you a list of actions you can take, inspired actions. I give you some that you can do right now this minute. I give you some that you can do next month. I give you some that you can do in a year or two. You control the process, but I am taking you through that process in a way that shows you yourself and gives you actions to take that are going to empower you to create a space that works for you.
Certainly. So, Miss Stephanie, what would be your advice for those people out there who want to write their own book?
Pay attention to yourself, pay attention to what you respond to, and start putting it down. I only write when I have something to say. If you're making something up, you're working too hard. Writing is about getting it down.
Certainly.
So just start putting it down.
And stop procrastinating, people. If you have the passion to write, write. Like Miss
Yes.
Stephanie. Who knows you will become like her. And Stephanie Lee Jackson. So, what will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
My short term goal is to launch this book and get it into the hands of as many people as possible, people who need it. My clients are on my case. They've told me people really need this, get this done. That is
Yes.
my short term goal. My long term goal is to change awareness of sensory issues in the fields of architecture, contracting, development, design, so that sensory aspects of any space are considered in the design phase of all developments, all renovations, all new construction. Because this is important. It's about the planet's health, it is about community health, it is about personal health and thriving.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Stephanie, and thank you for your advice. So, in what ways can furniture, art, and decor support a person's mental and emotional flow?
It is really about comfort, comfort and ease. You don't need to work so hard. I mean, and it seems like common sense, but I work with people every day where I go in and I'm like, I'm noticing you're tripping over this thing right here. Like, why is that thing here? And it's just there. And
Yes.
they just keep working around it. I'm like, how about we just put it here? Or how about we donate this? Or how about we change this layout so it's easy? Let's make it easy. All just about making things easy.
True. So, how does the book encourage experimentation and playful design as you're talking about?
I encourage you to get in touch with your inner 7 year old.
True.
When you are 7 years old, your hormones have not kicked in yet, but your sense of agency has. You have not been, hopefully, beaten down by life. You still can imagine things and think that they're going to happen. Your 7 year old has the keys to your life purpose. So I encourage you to sit down and think about what your life was like at 7, what you wanted for yourself, what you did, what you enjoyed, and see how much of your current life is reflecting that. And if it isn't, figure out why and figure out what you can do to make a place, a physical place where your inner 7 year old is going to be like, yes, this is what I want.
True. Be playful, people. Life is too short. So, Mrs. Stephanie, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, in its fifth season. People, fifth season with Chef Alessandro, one of his specialty chef in one of a five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We are reading our letters senders all over the world. So please do listen Food 101 wherever you listen your podcast. So what is the ultimate message about the relationship between environment and the inner self, brand loyalty and business growth?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, Miss Stephanie.
Your environment is your inner self. There is no separation. That separation is a really comfortable illusion that we've created, but you are what you eat. You are swimming in your reality. If you were floating in outer space, you would be dead.
True.
So what are you going to do that reflects the truth of that and optimizes the truth of that? Because you do have agency. There are systems which are trying to crush you. We all know that. We need to change those systems. And it starts with you recovering as much agency over what you have right now, because that will expand your bandwidth. Once you have more mental bandwidth, because you feel better, your brain isn't using all of that energy to jump over the thing in your way. You use that bandwidth to connect with other people, to build larger community connections, and work with other people to create a future that is better than the one that we're living in now.
Certainly. Miss Stephanie Lee Jackson, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. And we are looking forward for your upcoming The Eccentric Genius Habitat Intervention. So, Miss Stephanie, can you please invite our listeners to support your upcoming book?
Yes, please go to practicalsanctuary.com. Sign up for my mailing list. You could get a free e course and you will be notified when the book launches.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Stephanie Lee Jackson, because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Stephanie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel. You've been a great host.
Thank you. More to come, people. See you soon.
Bye.
You are most welcome to come back, Miss Stephanie, if you have a new book to be published.